I'm Ellie, a graduate peer advisor out of the Office of Undergraduate Research Services for the Ours Connects program. And today I'll be going over some keyboard shortcuts and other computer tips that I think would make your life a lot easier. And these are all hacks and tricks that you can use in your academic life, in your professional life, and in your personal life as well. Just a quick table of contents. So there's going to be a key on how to actually read the presentation, as well as some shortcuts on how to manipulate text and your interface or experience, and then some other non-keyboard shortcut related hacks that I think could still make your life a lot easier or at least be really helpful or organizational. So how to read the presentation. The keyboard shortcuts will be written out as key plus key, meaning that the designated keys or buttons on the keyboard within those brackets can be pressed in that order or simultaneously to achieve that command. And so, for example, we have the command for copy, which is Control plus C, and you can press those to either Control C in that order, like one at a time, or you can press them both at the same time. Same thing for the control for restoring a tab or a window. There are three keys here, but again, you can press them all at the same time, or control and then shift and then T. Please be aware that some of the shortcuts might not work or have different shortcuts depending on what kind of program you might be using. So on Canva, it'll be different. The keyboard shortcuts might be different than the one on like Google Docs or than the ones on Microsoft Word. So depending on where you might be, it might be a bit different, but for the most part, these are the really common shortcuts. And if something doesn't work, a quick search on a search engine will show you what shortcut does apply for whatever you're using. And also make sure that if you're using a MacBook or another Apple related product, wherever in this presentation it says control, you'll be instead pressing the command key. And it looks like that little black key in the left corner. For those MacBooks, the general keyboard layout and your actual layout might look a little bit different than this, but it should look generally like this with the command keys by the space bar. And for non-Apple keyboard, so let's say if you're using a different brand of laptop, the layout might look a bit more like this, where the control keys are on either side. And it will definitely look different. So one says control, the other says command. So some text-related keyboard shortcuts. And by text, I mean like either like words or images, just depending on what program you're on. So some of the ways you can manipulate it include copying, cutting, pasting with formatting. So to copy text, first you have to highlight the actual text that you would like to copy. And when it's copied, that content is saved into the clipboard, which you can use to later paste to somewhere else. So the clipboard is kind of this vague entity on your computer that stores information related to like when like the last thing that you've copied goes into that clipboard. And to copy, so you highlight that content that you want to copy and then press Control C. To cut, so cutting content, it removes that content from wherever it's on the page. And again, it's stored into the clipboard in case you wanted to use it somewhere. And the controls for that is Control X. For pasting, once you copy or cut some content, and then it gets stored into that clipboard automatically. To paste, you press Control V, and wherever your cursor is, it'll place that information or paste it in that location. And then pasting with formatting, and this is mostly for pasting words, like on a document, like on Google Docs or Microsoft Word. Your copied or cut content is pasted or placed in that location, like where your cursor was, with the formatting that existed there. And so let's say there's some content that you copied, there are some words that you copied from a research article that's in a different font and a different size. You go into your document and you paste it with formatting, so Control Shift V, then it'll reformat to match whatever the format was that you had on the page. For text alignment, we have some the three pretty standard text alignments. So left aligned, centered, right aligned, and then there are some like random words there to show you what they look like. To left align, you highlight the text that you want to align in a certain way, then you press Control L. For centering, again, you highlight whatever you want centered and then Control E, and then right aligned is going to be Control R. For bold, underline, and italicize, to bold, you're going to highlight, for any of these, you're going to highlight the content that you want to change in this way. And then respectively to bold, you're going to press Control B, to underline, Control U, and then to italicize, Control I. And here's some more. So to undo an action that you've just done, so the most recent action, to undo it, you press Control Z. And then to redo the action that you just undid in case you want to bring it back, or if you've like deleted some words using backspace, then you press Control Y and it redoes that action to bring it back to what it was before. To page break, let's say if you're on Google Docs or Microsoft Word, wherever your cursor is, if you press Control Enter, it'll make a new page, and anything below the cursor, like let's say there was a paragraph, or let's say you started your works cited section. If you put the cursor before the works cited and then you press Control Enter, it'll push all of that onto a new page. And then if you're on Google Docs, for Microsoft Word, the word count should automatically show. But for Google Docs, if you would like to have your word count shown, or if you'd like to see what it is, you can press Control Shift C, and then there'll be a pop-up that shows you what your word count is for the whole page. Or if you would like to know what your word count is for like a specific section, you can highlight that and then press Control Shift C, and it'll show you what the word count is. If you'd like the word count to be constantly present on the page, so you always know what your word count is, especially if you're writing a paper and there's a minimum word count. Pressing Control Shift C, and in that pop-up, there'll be a little box that you can check to have it present at all times. But that's up to you depending on what could be the most useful for you. To highlight, so there are a few options. To highlight everything on one page, you can press Control A, and you can see in that picture there, it highlighted everything on that web page. So the words, the pictures, all of the links. And then if you were to paste it somewhere, then everything that got highlighted, all of it, if you copy or cut it, then all of that also gets pasted onto wherever you'd like it to be pasted. If you want to select highlight, so highlighting specific things and it not in any particular order necessarily, then you press Control and then you click the things that you want to highlight. And so this is especially useful, let's say if you're in files and there are multiple files or documents or images that you want to highlight without having to individually highlight like or copy one at a time, then you could press Control and then just as you're holding down the Control button, click around, and then it'll highlight the things that you are pressing. Oh, and this is also a really useful tool if you use Excel, where to highlight specific cells that aren't necessarily like all next to each other, you can press Control and then just click the cells that you want to highlight. To find, so this is especially useful if you're doing research or again, like if you're on places like Excel and you need to look for specific words or names or cells or information. You can press Control F, and then in that little white rectangle that you see, that's where, or it'll look something similar to that depending on where what program you're on. But that white rectangle will pop up, and then you can type whatever it is that you want to search for. So in this case, I searched for the word research, 7 results popped up, and they'll highlight on the page in a similar manner as this. And then 1 out of 7 means that the first instance of the word research is highlighted, and then you can use the up and down carrots to toggle between each instance of the word or phrase that you are looking for. So some shortcuts related to your experience. And so like when you're using your browser to search, like, and then this is also how to manipulate things like tabs and windows. So to create a new tab, from wherever you are on, you could just press Control T, and then in the window, it'll create a new tab. To delete a tab, and this is specifically for the tab that you're on, and you're going to press Control W, and it'll exit out of that tab and then bring you back to whatever nearby tab is there. To create a new window within your browser, or let's say if you're in files and you want to create a new window, you could press Control N, N for new, and it'll bring up a new window, it'll create a new window. If you want to restore a tab or window that you accidentally deleted, or it turns out you need it again, you could press Control Shift T, and it'll bring back or restore the tabs or windows that you exit out of in the order that you exited out of them. And so the most recent exited tabs will pop back up. If you're using a mouse, and so like if you're on a PC or if you've like hooked up a mouse to a laptop, if you press Control and then scroll up or down, that's one way that you can zoom in or out without having to move your hand as much. And so the pictures show what it looks like when you're zoomed in and when you're zoomed out. And I'm sure most of us have done this before, but just a way that might be easier if you're using a mouse. And then some extra hacks that I think would still be helpful that don't have to do with shortcuts. So this is something that is um, from a newer update on Google Chrome. And so if you happen to use Google Chrome and you're on a newer update, there is this way to organize your tabs by making tab groups. And so what you're going to do is you're going to right click on a tab, and then on the picture in the top right, there'll be that pop-up that says Add Tab to New Group. You're going to press that. And then there's this new pop-up that shows in the picture right below it where you can insert the name of the group that you want it to be called. And then you can change the colors, manipulate it in however ways you like. Um, Once you create that group, to move tabs in and out of that group, you can hold on to a tab and with your cursor and then just slide it in or out. And then the longer, narrow pictures on the bottom show what it looks like when you have your tab groups expanded and minimized. So the top one, everything is minimized. If all of the tab groups are minimized, it'll automatically just keep one open, since there's always needs to be a tab open for the window to work in the first place. But if you have a tab that's not in any of those tab groups, it'll just stick with that one, and then everything gets minimized, and so your desktop is a lot more organized. The middle picture is if all of your tab groups are open, and this is an example. So if you can see, the blue one is CSULB related tabs, the pink is hours related tabs, green is if you're like searching for classes, the green is all classes related, and in this case, videos. They're all in their own individual groups, and so you can organize your information that way. This is especially useful also if you're doing research again, or if you're writing a paper and you have different sources for different topics in your paper or in your research, or if you just want to organize your tabs and group them in a certain way. This is especially useful, and it has been very useful for me, just so I don't have, 9,000 windows with different tabs and I can't find anything. Or that meme where it's, the one tab that's playing music and you don't know which one it is. This might be a way to make it a lot easier to find that one tab that's playing music. And then to screenshot, these are shortcuts for non-MacBooks. There are the instructions right below this little graphic for MacBooks, but to screenshot the whole screen, you could press Windows Print Screen and it'll screenshot the entire screen. If you want to screenshot just like a select area, you could press Windows Shift S. You could think of S like snip, and then there's a little cursor that pops up, and then you can make a box over the specific area that you want to screenshot. And again, for MacBooks, the instructions are a bit different. For MacBooks, you're going to press Shift Command 3 For screenshotting the entire screen or for select screenshotting, you could press Shift Command 4. Yeah, thank you for listening to this quick presentation, and I hope it was really helpful. Again, if there are any shortcuts that I like just kind of breezed over too quickly, please feel free to go back and pause. You can see what the different shortcuts are. If you have any other questions at all, feel free to email the Ours office at that email on the screen. Or our office is in the Student Success Center, room 120. And then these are some resources. Feel free to pause if you would like any of this information. And again, thank you for listening to my workshop.